Okay, welcome back. So in this part we're going to continue with the skin on our dinosaur. Now between the parts I've noticed that we've got a little errors here on our main skin, on our base skin layer. Now I'm not quite sure how we've got this. It's probably my fault. I probably painted it a little too quickly the first time around. Now the problem with sort of digital painting is it can take quite a while to do all the little tweaks and stuff, and I really don't like to show everything on camera. It would be a very, very long tutorial indeed, but it seems in this case I've gone a bit too fast. So rather than just correcting this off camera, I thought I'd show you how to do this, because we've got two layers now with this base skin tone. So we don't really want to do all this work again. We just want to fix a few errors, and I'm going to show you how. So for this head error with this and this is just not nice. So let's come in, and I'm going to hide the second skin tone, and we can see that that error is definitely on here. It's just not nice at all. So let's go up here and click show me only the current paint layer, which will just show me the current paint layer. Then I can go into the UV, which will show me the current paint layer, and I can see my problem is going to stem from this area on the head. So I really need to touch up this area. So I'm going to take my image, I'm going to Control Shift and get it to about the size I want it, so around here. Shift to move it, and then I'm just going to paint out like so. Now what I can do before I bake this down, so this has given me a better paint, but I don't want to go and kill this all the way to these edges, otherwise the seams won't match under the chin, which is where this would be, so that's no good. So let's add a new layer and let's bake this layer down. Okay, so now I'll end up with something that looks like this. So I've just got an extra bit, and let me just go back to my through tools so I can just paint that out. Seems like I've missed it. There we go. Alright, so let's bake that down again, making sure we're on our new layer, and let's have a look at what we've got. So we've got this. When we show all layers, you'll see that this creates a rather nasty seam. But because we've got this all now in order, what I can fix it with is I can take a layer mask for this guy, for the new layer, and then I can just use a black brush and come and paint this seam out. So I've got an opacity right now of 0.39. So I'm just going to do this until the seams kind of match. Now again, this is one of those things that you're going to want to spend a bit of time on, whereas I'm going to do it quite rapidly. Let's just come up here and let's just take out the worst of this so it doesn't look quite so sort of painted on top of something else. And we can slowly but surely, just using a bit of opacity, take out the seams. Okay, it's not going to be perfect, but it should certainly be pretty good. So okay, there we go. Now we've kind of feathered that in a bit, and we don't have those errors in the middle of the head. So let's hit B to bake that down. Right, now we've got this issue where if we hide both of these and bring back our second tone, that's not going to match anymore. It's not going to match the base skin layer, so we need to fix that as well. Okay, in order to do that, I'm going to want to merge these two layers together so they once again become one complete base layer. So let's hide our second tone. Let's show this one, which fixes our errors. Let's select them both, so I'm just shift selecting, and I'm going to go up to layers, merge layers, and this will merge those two layers together. Okay, so that's done. So I'll call this base skin again. There we go. And now this layer, this was our two-tone layer, which now doesn't match, but it's not really an issue because we don't actually need the layer, we need the layer mask. So let's Control C and Control V this base copy again. So the base skin we just copied and pasted. Now I want to copy and paste this layer mask. So under layer mask, copy into the base skin layer, paste, and right now I can get rid of this altogether. I need to put a hue, saturation and value in here, So HSV, and then I need to just adjust the HSV to match what it did before, which I'm just going to do by eye. It was around there. Now these two match perfectly. Okay, so we just fixed some major errors in the head, and we shouldn't have needed to kill our seams to do it across here, and the blending is pretty good. You know, you might want to spend a bit longer with the brush and kind of paint this out with more opacity levels so you get a better look, but for on screen in a couple of minutes this will be good enough. So let's go back to the orthographic view and let's apply our shader once again, and let's take a look at the middle of the head here, and you'll see no unsightly large errors. Okay, now we've got a problem here where we haven't really blended this well enough, but I'm going to be changing this in a second anyway, so this is not a huge cause for concern. And let's look to see if we can spot any other errors. This masking here is a bit, you know, from a distance it looks fine, up close, not so much. It's not blended together very well. Let's see if we can spot anything else. And there's a big hole here in the tail. So these are all errors with the layer mask itself. So this is pretty easy to fix. If we take a look at our layer mask, and then we take a look at just the mask, so I'm going to come up here and click view the current paint layer or mask, we can see exactly why that's not blending together too well. As you can see, my paint strokes around here aren't very accurate. They're sort of a bit higgledy-piggledy, but you know, with a mouse you're always going to have a few problems with that. And I'm going to flat shade this dinosaur so I can get a better look at any problems. Okay, I see we've got a couple of holes, so let's come in and use a white brush, hold O to change the opacity. Whoops. Okay, it's not liking me doing that, so let's just come in here and just paint this over. Now it doesn't have to be good, because we're going to blur this in a second, so B to bake that down. This is a bit harsh here, this sort of, and I'm going to also change this one, just fill that one in, so B to bake, and let's get this little bit here as well. Okay, so that's fixed a few of those errors. We've got here some white hotspots that have popped up, probably where I've had a miss. Just clear the paint buffer because I moved before I baked, and bake that down, bake that down, and let's just get this bit here too, bake it down, see if I can spot anything else. No, so the mask is looking a bit better now, other than kind of this where we've manually painted and this. So let's come here and let's blur this mask. So filters, blur, Gaussian blur, and you'll see that blurs out quite nicely. If we flick it back, preview off and preview on, you can just apply that. It might take about 30 seconds to apply. There we go, and let's have a look. If we apply another blur, maybe it'll get even better. Okay, so I'll just move this blur window out of the way, and it's a bit slow down, but you can see that's much nicer. Let me just flick the preview. Okay, so it does make some difference, quite a bit. Let's go apply, just give that 30 seconds or so to apply. Oh, now we've got a much nicer, smoother transition. Now I might also add some noise to this mask just to give it a bit of random feeling. So again, filters, we should have an add noise here, and I'm going to leave it at its default. So I just want some noise to break it up so it looks a bit more random. So I'm going to hit apply again, give it a couple of seconds to apply that. Okay, now we can go back to view all layers. Let's turn the lighting on and get the right shader. And now we're a bit better. Now I've got a better transition across here. Liking that quite a bit more. What I want to do now though is, let's have a look. I still have that problem with these paint throughs from the back, so we'll need to go in and fix that as well. That's ever so slightly annoying, but we'll just do it in the same way we've done before. So UV, and these will be on the belly. I'm going to show the current layer only, and there we go. We've got a few extraneous marks on the belly where I've inadvertently painted through something because I've had the projection on through instead of front. So let's come out and get a nice belly shape, and now I'm just going to use the brush and just paint through it. Okay, so that sort of fixes up any errors that we had there. Now I don't want to go to the edges of this because the edges of this will be seamed across in Mari, so I just want to come out to here, and I'm going to do that same trick where I create a new layer. Whoops, that was a layer mask, don't need that actually. A new layer, and now I'm going to bake this to a new layer. So P, I'm going to hide this base skin copy, which is actually our red color, and I'm going to show all of the layers except the hidden one. And now I can come in with my brush, and with an opacity I can start, whoops, obviously I'm going to need a mask to paint on. There we go. With the opacity I can just start brushing out the harder seam around the edge here. Okay, so I'm just kind of lightly fading this in. Okay, and then I'll take my mouse off and start doing that again around the top edge here. Now you'll find this immeasurably easier, and once again I'm going to go around a third time. You'll find this immeasurably easier with a tablet. You know, painting these lines with a mouse takes quite a while, but with a tablet you should just be able to kind of zip through it. And also with a tablet the opacity can be controlled by pen pressure, which makes the whole thing a lot easier and a lot more intuitive. But that should be about right. So select both of these layers and merge them together. So where are we? Merge, 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 merge layers. There we go. So once again, base skin, and we need to copy this now and paste it. So we also need to copy this layer mask, and actually, did I copy the actual layer mask there? Sorry, having a bit of a senior moment. And paste, there we go, and let's just get rid of this. Delete. We know this is going to need a hue, saturation and value once again. And we know that's going to be somewhere in the upper end of the hue shift, around here. Will do. So, although, and now we don't have those big horrible holes in the belly, which is nice. We've got some seamage going on here, but you can always use the opacity brush trick to just continue to brush it out a bit until it looks the business, but you know, no glaring errors. So we managed to fix the head and the belly without, you know, too much hassle. So let's get our shader back on that, because this shiny default one is not very good. And looking pretty decent. I'd be pretty happy with that. You know, I would take some time and go in and maybe feather out some things a bit more, but on the whole, pretty happy with that. Right, okay, so now I've no intention of leaving this as a two-tone dinosaur. I want actually a solid color along the front, and the way I'm going to achieve this is, let's just call this second tone. The way I'm going to achieve this is just with the third layer. So let's add another layer. There we go, and I'm going to call this solid color. Okay, so let's view just the solid color layer and go into UV. Now for this I want a solid color, so something like a creamy off-white yellowish will do. Let's get a, and why am I painting black? That's why I'm painting black. Okay, let's get the opacity all the way up, and I'm just going to make all of the skin this solid cream color. In fact, what I can just select the patch by holding S and clicking on it, and then go patches, fill, foreground. There we go. That's a bit easier than painting backwards and forwards. And then S again, click up here and just unselect that patch. While that's not necessary, as I believe I mentioned before, it's my OCD, I think. So just hit B to bake that down, and if we go at the ortho view, you should see a one color, solid color dinosaur, which obviously is not very good for us. So we need to take this layer mask, copy, and then just paste it in here. Layer mask, paste. There we go. And then view the whole lot with our shader. And you'll see what we've got is a solid color with a gradual red blending around the edges of it here. So this has created for us something a little better than just having a kind of blended in white to blue transition, or whatever color we end up making this guy. This has given us a proper transition from sort of white to reddish to blue. And you know, because we've got the hue, saturation and value on that transition, we could always change that transitional color as well. So depending on the look you're going for, it gives you, you know, quite a nice amount of blending options. Now I quite like this guy in sort of the orange shaded transition, somewhere around there I would think. Okay, but it gives you a lot of options with some much nicer blending than just having a solid white stripe going down. Now looking at this blending, I'm not particularly happy with this whiteness that goes up here. So let's select our solid color, let's select the mask, let's turn this to black, let's get an opacity of around 0.3 something, and I can start to paint out some of this white that's going on around up here. Okay, I don't want to get too much. Let's bake that, spin him around, let's have a look. Okay, bake him out. Come in for a bit of a close-up shot. Okay, let's bake that out. Make sure that doesn't leave too much of a contour there. Actually, I'm not liking that. I'm just going to undo that last brush stroke. Okay, and I'm also going to lighten up the red that goes up the eyebrows too. So just come in and take a bit of this away. There we go. And now I can sort of paint on this mask. For instance, if I wanted to have a bit more transition in here, I can take the solid color mask and come and start brushing out a little bit to get a better transition. Okay, depending on the look you're going for, that may or may not be what you need. So let's go to the second tone and let's take a bit out here as well. Whoops. Maybe a bit out here. And this is one of those things that you're just going to have to have a bit of patience for and paint it all out until it looks how you want it, really. I'm not liking this white around here, so let's take some of the white out here. Okay, just take some of it out so we don't get that line so much. Bake it. Because it's a solid white color, we can always blur it. So if we have a look at the mask itself, so let's come here. You can work directly on the mask here. and you can always give it another blur. So Gaussian blur, there we go, apply. And give it 30-40 seconds. And there we go. So back to the full view and back to our shader. And that's looking pretty good. This kind of X you can see on the belly, by the way, is it's actually a lighting artifact. It's not really there. Okay, so let's have a look. Looking pretty good. I might come in here and use that brush to take some of the white away around the feet, because there's a bit too much of it maybe. So, you know, just do like so, but I think I'll do that in between the parts. And let's have a look around at this guy. Yeah, happy with the basic sort of skin two-tone skin tone effect, or three tone should I say, because we've got this red into the white there. Okay, well that should about do it for this part. I'm quite happy with this base skin tone. We'll go over some speck and some bump and all those other things in a later part. And when we come back after the break, I want to take a look at painting out the claws and the kind of horn pieces on the tail, and that will give us pretty much all of our dinosaur with some paint on it at least, and then we can start sort of refining and doing things like bump and speck and stuff like this. So I hope you found something interesting in this part. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next part. Cheers.